led me to Jesus. And here I am, I can be able to share in this way. Yes, I believe there's a reward in sharing knowledge. Because as you share knowledge and you see people succeeding as a result of getting that knowledge, it just gives you so much happiness. So I believe in sharing knowledge. And I want to say that the knowledge I'm sharing on this platform is what I gained as a result of my going to Israel, being part of my attachment for the Masters in Wealth Creation, Executive MBA, which I did from University of Lusaka. So we're attached to Israel. So I learned those principles, I've implemented them. I've benefited from them. So why not share? I have to share so that the way I am benefiting and getting better each day, the next generation, the generation that's there, must also benefit.
Wow. Here we hear Mom talking about how she traveled to Israel and how she had done her things with the University of Zambia. It just shows to us that, you know, this is a mother that wants to transfer things educational-wise, wealth creation-wise. And so this is the time to take a notebook, a pen, and listen. And so, Ma'am, today we are discussing on taking responsibility and not giving excuses, because we believe that most of the time people have given excuses in things that they are supposed to take as a responsibility. You find that you have lived from, as a mother, you are a grandmother, you are a great-grandmother, and we are blessed today to have you on the show, because I'm looking at a mother that has lived generations. And so we are so blessed that indeed what she's going to give us are secrets and values that she has implemented. Just like you heard her speak to say she has implemented. So there is no excuse in you not implementing. So, Ma'am, give us the secrets on taking responsibilities and not taking excuses.
Thank you, Precious. I want to start by just a brief overview of what we discussed last time. I said that there is a power in saving. Everybody, be an individual, be a company, be a country, you must have the habit of saving. And I quoted from our first president, where he says the future belongs to those who prepare for it. So I said everybody must make an effort to save. The first item on the budget must be saving. I also said you must save in a good account, in a good bank. So don't just assume that because you've taken money into the bank, it's multiplying. No. Go in a bank that will give you good interest. And they must tell you right from the beginning, your interest is going to be so much. So compare between banks and go to the one which will give you a good interest. So a fixed deposit, which will be, that money will be available for you for any short needs that you may have, but more also for your development, for the business that you want to start, for the project that you want to start. The money will be there, will be growing in the bank until such a time as you are ready.
Well, thank you, viewers. You've just heard from Mom that she has actually been an example of what saving has done for her. I think we are recapping from what she said last week, and she said she took herself to school. At 71, she did not go to borrow in any bank to take herself to school. And so she's advising us, she's giving us a secret to say, look, you need to save for investment. You need to save at whatever comes in your hands. At least make sure the first item is that you should save. You should save. So those are the secrets that she gave us, and I believe from this month end, we are all saving. And so today, as she gets into the topic of taking responsibility, Mom, how far do you want to go in us as generations and generation? How do you want us, how far, when you look at your life, how far do you want us to take responsibility? I know you are going to talk from a perspective of being a mother. Being a mother, is there a gap in this generation that we need to take responsibility at the workplace? How far do you want us to go? Because I know you've been a lecturer and you are a person that came on board because you presented good values, and you've, I think, from having lectured many, you have seen this. Is there a gap in even on the student side and family-wise?
Taking responsibility. In my book that I've written, I've called it complaining, the disadvantage of complaining.
Wow.
So when you are complaining, somebody else is responsible for your situation. So you are on a negative side. It's because my mother, it's because my father, it's because my uncle, it's because I'm an orphan, it's because of this and that. Or it's because I've got naughty children. That's why I've got problems. But everyone, in every situation, must take responsibility. That's why there's this finger. You see? You don't point at your son, you don't point at your husband, you don't point at your mother. You take responsibility. What is it that I can do to make this situation better than what it is? One day I was quite sad. At Apex, a young man comes with a grandmother and he says, "Oh, excuse me from paying fees. I brought you my grandmother who is paying my fees." I looked at him. Your grandmother is paying your fees? You see, somebody else has to do it. Okay? Somebody else, not him. This is a young man who could have found piecework, who could be working and take responsibility and started doing it. Then I take it at a national level, precious. The attitudes that we have as a people.
Yes, ma'am.
We have in Zambia what we call Boma Yanganepo. Okay? So when we were in Israel, the first question they asked us was our relationship with our Boma Yanganepo. And they said, here in Israel, we don't depend on the government. We, the Israelites, we make money for the government.
Yeah, that's right.
We say, oh, not the other way. Because we went there ourselves believing that the government should give me money. So even if I want to go to Israel, the government must give me a scholarship. They said, we don't. We make the money. So how do you do it? They said, we do inventions, we start businesses, we do all sorts of things to make money, and then we ensure we're paying tax to our government. Enough money for the government to run our country. We are coming up with inventions. So when we have invented something, we sell it to other countries. Those countries, they pay me money. They also pay money to my government. That way, our government is doing very well, it's rich. We, the individuals, who are also doing well, we're also getting rich. And as we're getting rich, we are passing on the money. Okay, we are passing on. So precious, I'll help you to set out a business. From my money, okay? I'll not send you to the bank. I'll not send you to the government. No, I will help you. So that is taking responsibility. We complain. Oh, the government is not doing this. Okay, you are in a place where there's a drainage. The people are throwing in rubbish. Boma yangane potavutika kuno. Water is flowing into because the drainage is full. Take your responsibility. Go the neighbors. We're not supposed to do this. Can we sort out this problem? Taking responsibility.
Well, viewers, you've heard from our mother that it's time to take responsibility from family level, as she gave an example of a student that went to Apex and gets the grandmother to say the reason why they are not paying school fees is because they've had a grandmother who has been unable to pay school fees, giving an excuse instead of taking responsibility. I think there's so many jobs that students would have done, ma'am. They would have gone into gardening. They would have gone into even just managing time where they know they're supposed to be in school, and they can do some piecework. I think I've come across many people that have been doing even being a garden boy, but still takes themselves to school. So really, it's not taking responsibility that we've had all these excuses. And you see, you take a poor grandmother to the school instead of taking responsibility. And you said something, ma'am, on this issue. I also don't like it, where people, you hear anything they want to say, Boma Ilanganepo. Honestly, how do you expect a drainage that is by your house, somebody else to come and take responsibility of something that can be done, even in the community? There are so many things we have neglected, I think, as individuals, and given so much excuse on another person. And so why is it like this? Is it because of how we are being trained, or how can you say it? Because when you look at this child that comes with a grandmother and says, I've not paid school fees because of my grandmother, is unable to. So is there a way that us as parents should come in and try to educate our children and families? You're just talking about wealth creation. Here is a boy that can't take responsibility. I think I was talking to one of the youths last week. They came and said, give me money for a haircut. I looked at this boy is over 20, and I told them, look, if I'm going to give you money for a haircut, what else are you going to do for yourself? I think there's been too much total dependency on who should do something for me. So where are we going wrong, ma'am, looking at the gap that has been there? We have so many children today that are so totally dependent on and passing on a blame to a parent, to an uncle, because they are not in school, because they are not working, because they have not had food. They pass the blame on to another person. Yes.
Yeah, before I even go into that detail, I want to say that first of all, complaining is a sin in actual fact. God doesn't like us to complain. If we remember Moses at the Red Sea, and he's complaining, he said, what am I going to do? God, what am I? And God says, use what is in your hand. Okay? And he uses that, and the sea opens. At another time, they didn't have water, the children of Israel, and they were complaining, and I remember that God punished them. So everyone should know that complaining is not acceptable. In the eyes of God, it is a sin. Okay. So, coming to our children, those are mistakes even most of us have made. But you come to realize it. My trip from coming from Israel, I realized that these are some of the mistakes that we make. We make our children, we think that when we give them things, we are actually loving them. But we are not, because we are creating that dependent syndrome upon them. And if a parent dies, for example, then they're already stranded.
Very true.
And they put upon themselves that I'm an orphan and somebody needs to come and give me help. Because it's our bringing, because we believe that that's love. When we give them things like that, we love them. We pay their fees. We do all sorts of good things. Even in our homes, they want to work, they are studying. That we see it as success. So it is our upbringing. Okay? And I just hope that their parents listening to me, okay, who can realize that I love my children if I teach them independence at this age. We hear that in the Western world, when a child reaches a certain age, they just say, no, you have to be independent. And we hear that in those places, children there, they will do all sorts of jobs. In catering, they will clean dishes, they wash houses in order for them to be able to sustain themselves. So it's ours, but I think we can get out of that situation. Okay, we can get out of that, but especially even as a nation, that complaining and Boma Yanganepo must begin to go and disappear. We must take responsibility. We must know that we are the ones who should be creating wealth. We are the ones who should be able to help the government, even have money and so on. So that one of these days our government will stop depending on donor funding. You know, those kinds of situations. And it can happen. So we take responsibility. We refuse to complain. If I have no money, okay, if there's unemployment, why should you wait for the government? Be an employer. Start a project that will help you employ other people.
That's so good, Ma'am. And so we just heard it from our mom, and looking at what she has spoken about, she has lived what she's talking about. And so when she went to Israel and she comes back and she found a nation that works for themselves, a nation that does business and are able to sustain their economic activities in their nation. And so we are not different from them as Zambians. I think it's time to take responsibility. If you look at Mom here, she's already studying, she's planning to go and study wealth creation. And at her age, you may wonder and you may want to ask to say, why does she need this? Because at her age, you are thinking she can't go back to school. And here is one person that says, we need to have wealth creation. As a nation, we need to pass on the baton of wealth creation. And so it's a challenge to each one of us that we need to just take responsibility and start to work, start a business. There are so many things that needs to be done. I spoke to Mom a few last week, and she was telling me about cooperatives. And I think, Mom, that is the right way to go as a nation also, so that through cooperatives, we are able to give back to the country, and we are able to pay taxes. What can you advise on the cooperatives? There's somebody, you were just telling me you acquired land and we were sharing land. What is that person that is watching you today that is saying, Boma Ilanganepo, when Israel, the very people in the nation are changing the nation, and somebody in Zambia today is looking at waiting for the government to come and change the nation? I don't think it's about the government. The government will not come and change the nation. It's until we change the mindset and the attitude of us Zambians, and believing that our country will be a better person. And it all starts from family level, because the family is the HR of this nation. And so when you look at how well we are raising our children, that is the only way we are going to come out of this total dependency on, or pointing fingers on who has not done what, because each one of us would have taken responsibility. So, Ma'am, what can you talk about in terms of how we are not going to be totally dependent on the country? You spoke about cooperatives and
yes, Precious. The cooperatives, they can be in many ways. But the cooperatives I'm trying to promote myself is where you put resources together. Okay? So again, you are not waiting for Boma to give you money. Yeah, I like, it's good what the government is doing and helping people to start cooperatives. But people should put money together and start. That's what I'm saying. Like our cooperative, we are putting money together. And we are doing great things. One of these days I'll be able to give a testimony. Wow. But we are doing great things. Because, Precious, if you put your 10 kwacha, and I put the 10 kwacha, somebody else the 10 kwacha, we end up with 100 kwacha. We can start a Tumbua business. Isn't it?
Yes, we can.
But if I've got my 10 kwacha alone, it won't be able to buy the flour and the cooking oil to start a Tumbua business. So that's the idea behind cooperatives. So I said earlier on when I came that I have a dream that sooner or later 75% of the economy of this country will be in the hands of Zambians. And I think that's one of the ways we can get there faster. Can you imagine? I imagine, Precious, if Zambians, because like the University of Zambia has been training the people in mining for a long time, from the inception, all those people, if they put their retirement packages together, wouldn't they have a big mine of their own? Instead of the government inviting investors from outside, the Zambians themselves would form a cooperative, a mining cooperative, and take up some cooperative and start negotiating for good terms from the government. Instead of the outsiders getting those good conditions, the Zambians would get those good conditions. So that's the idea of cooperatives, putting money together, okay, and coming up with one big idea. So one day I'll come and show, just give you a testimony of what, how well our cooperative is doing. Wow. Yeah. In fact, the university I'm working for, Apex, I say it's the best university in the medical field right now. It came into being by 8 people coming together. 8 people. And now it's a great university. You have heard about Apex?
Yes, I've heard about
Who hasn't heard about Apex?
We have all heard about Apex.
And people have sent children there. We have about 7,000 students now. They started with 17. Now we have about 7,000. And it's spreading. It's in almost, soon it will be in all provinces. But it started with 8 people coming together, putting their resources together. That's a cooperative. Although it's a company, but that's a cooperative. That's what we're talking about. If more Zambians can start thinking like that, those ones who have done nutrition, for example, they come together. They open a factory for food processing. Would we really be importing drinks? Would we be importing tinned foods? We wouldn't. They'll be produced right here, using our own resources, not even getting a loan from all these World Bank or something like that. No. And then we'll be paying good tax to the government. The government will not be borrowing from anybody. Trotting all over the place, your government trotting all over the place to go and borrow money from here and there. The Zambians will do it.
What a wake-up call, viewers, that we need to just take responsibility. Look at Apex University. It started with 17 students, and today it has the capacity to accommodate 7,000 students. What a way of not taking excuses. Imagine if Apex did not, the 8 people that started Apex University did not take responsibility and looked at the need of the nation and also just said they needed to implement. Because sometimes, ma'am, it's one thing to think of something and not take action and not even implement. Here you've just spoken about people, the cooperative where you've been getting land, and there's someone out there who is saying, I can't get land, land is expensive. It's time to work together as a nation. It's time to work together as individuals and see how best we can improve ourselves, and also just the mindset change that really we had to take responsibility. The moment we accept that to the way things are is because we have not taken responsibility, because it's only when you accept and say something needs to be changed, that's when you start to take responsibility and start to do the right thing. So ma'am, we are so grateful that your trip to Israel really is benefiting all of us today, and for sure I don't think I'll ever take an excuse for anything, because I'm looking at 7,000 when it started with 17 students. That's so huge. And you are there seated watching us. You have that idea. Look for people. sit and discuss. There is more that we are going to do when we work together. Yes, ma'am.
I will just talk more about this work, taking responsibility. So here we have these people, 8 of them, very senior people. I didn't ask for their name, permission to mention their names. These are professors who have been doctors, who are in the medical field, and then they noticed the hospitals now are lacking personnel. Shortage of nurses, shortage of doctors, shortage of all the medical personnel. So they could have sat there with their big monies, and they could have said, Boma Yanganepo, Boma should start find a way of training more doctors and all that. They said, no, we're going to take up the challenge. We're going to start a university which is going to train personnel to fill these hospitals. And already we're talking of, I think we've produced more than 2,000 health personnel. Wow. We have impacted, and we've heard from the comments of people that Apex has got good, well-trained personnel. So they didn't complain. That's what I'm saying. They didn't complain. They took responsibility. They took action. Then they worked together. Can you see those principles? They took responsibility.
And they worked together.
They worked together. They put their resources together. Now we can talk of this big university, and then others are also learning from them. Now we have other universities that are coming up, training medical personnel. But that was the idea. So,
ma'am, looking at the way you've spoken about Apex, you say there were professors, there were this and this. So really, how do you engage different generations to come at a workplace and achieve that one goal? Because if I look at your generation, my generation, the generation that is coming from behind me, how do you engage each and every generation to work together and just come up with something? Or is there any skills that are there at any specific generation that, okay, this generation they were good at this and this generation is now good at it? So is there anything like that? Because when you look at the now people, we are talking about them saying, I don't have a job because of that, because of this. So now, is there any skill that is needed from each generation that when we put things together, we have something successful?
I think what is important is the sharing of knowledge, the way we are sharing. So that when people look at Tango Mazaba, they will not look at this lucky woman who has ended up like that. They will know that I had to take certain steps. First of all, I had to save. Okay. First of all, then I had to look for knowledge. Okay. And as I said to you earlier on, I am going to go into PhD to get deeper knowledge on wealth creation, because even my master's was on wealth creation. Even the going to Israel was part of the wealth creation program. Okay, so the knowledge must be passed on. Okay, the syllabus in our education sector must include the issues of wealth creation right from day one, in small bits, growing as you are going, cancelling the dependence syndrome. I like the fact that now the government is even encouraging schools to have production units. Okay, because now they are learning agriculture there already by being in those production units. So it's the passing. That's why I said my belief is in passing on knowledge, passing knowledge to the next generation.
Wow. So I have interacted so much with Mom, and last time she was also talking about doing an events center, and also just trying to see how best she can modify the events section. And so this is a woman that is multitasking. And Mom, when I look at your generation, I think I must say that this is a generation that multitasked. Talking from a mother point of view, you multitasked. You were a mother, you were working, and you still did the house chores. But we have my generation that is now saying, I am not a housewife because I'm going for work. So now, what advice could you give that mother that is saying, I'm only I'm not a housewife? So they have neglected the children because they have preferred to be in the office, and they are giving an excuse, looking at the children, because not putting in values in their children, because they are telling themselves, I need to work because when I'm working for these very children. So when I look at our mothers, your generation, you multitasked. What advice are you giving to that mother who is even saying, I can't go to school because I need to just work? Because you've consistently been learning.
You know, our children and our grandchildren. First of all, there is great value in ensuring that you bring up your children, not the maid, not the school. So if you are going to leave them alone and you are just making money for them, that money will be wasted. I can tell you of a story of this lady who left houses for each one of her children. She passed on. Those children, they put those houses on rent, and they spent their money, that money, the rental money, drinking. Okay? And we lost 2 of them. We buried them on the same day. Because they had gone into that life of drinking, chiwolia, drugs, and so on. The parents have left the man. So our daughters, you have to be a mother. You have to be a worker. Okay? You have to be even in your community. Never make that mistake of thinking that when you make money for your children, you have done it all. No. Building up their character is the most important. Because when you have brought up your child properly, they will survive anything. You can die today, but they've got their principles, and they will manage in the world. They will take care of what you have. But I know, and I've got a lot of examples. Even in our generation, there are people who believed that it's just money. And you see the children, the parents are gone, and the children are in a mess. Please, our daughters, have time for your children. Teach them the values. Lead them to Jesus. Find time. Fathers, our sons, find time with your children. Never leave them to the maid or to just the school. They are your responsibility, and you can do it. You can do it, actually. You just have to cut down on your social life. This is the social life where you cut down. Go and work. Find time to come and cook for your children and your husband, and find time to share values with your children.
We have just spoken to our mom, as unfortunately time is not with us. She's spoken of how she has taken responsibility of being a wife, of being a mother, being a grandmother, being a great-grandmother. And in all these things, she has taken responsibility. To that woman who is watching me now, and you're telling yourself, I'm not a housewife, and so your children have suffered because you needed to go for work, you needed to. It's one thing to bring them money, but it's another thing to leave a legacy that they are going to carry on. Even when they are left with nothing, can they survive with what you have left with them? The Bible says, leave an inheritance for your children's children. So for your generations and generations. So when leaving the inheritance for your children's children, we're talking of a mindset. You can leave property today, you can leave money today, but if you've not developed a right mindset, they'll definitely sell. We've had witnessed many houses sold after parents have gone. And so, parents, please, 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 let us leave principles, let us build characters in our children. Mom, your last words to the viewers. I've had no messages today, but we can just talk to the people that they needed to take responsibility. You've spoken at national level, you've spoken at family level, and also community level, as a student, as a mother. I think you have addressed us all. So, your last words, ma'am.
Okay. The starting point is don't complain. When you find a situation, think of what can I do myself. And there's a lot around you which you can do. Even when you want to start a business, there's so much around you which you can use to start that project. So once you stop complaining, of course you refer things to Jesus, and Jesus gives you wisdom. Your mind begins to open up, and you see what you can do in any situation. Don't look at somebody else as a solution to your situation. Don't look at Boma Yanganepo as a solution to your situation. You can do it. 2, please pass on to your children, to your nieces, to your nephews, that good legacy. Okay? One of not being a dependent, knowing that you have what it takes to achieve and to have what you want. Give them values, and please lead them to Jesus. That's number 1. But give them, find time, because when you find time to discuss with your children, nieces and nephews, then they will not go and ask from the wrong place. They will not just ask from the Google. They will hear from you, and you'll be able to teach them the correct values. Divide your time. Find time for your family. Find time for your children. The money in itself is nothing. Money can only be good when it's used with wisdom. And please don't forget to save for your future, and even for the future of your children.
Thank you so much, Ma'am. It's been a wonderful time. And I just want you to tell the people, next Sunday, 16 hours, what are they looking forward to hearing from you?
There's a question that they asked us in Israel. They said, what do you regard as success? So we said, well, big car, big house, you know, and your dress and all that. So I'll look at this person and say, that's success. Because I'll see the house they are coming from, I'll see how they are dressed, I'll see the car they are driving. Then they said to us, that is a waste of time. That is not success. In Israel, success is counted as how you make other people succeed in life. That's what we shall be discussing.
So viewers, make a date with us next Sunday, 16 hours. How do you measure success? Success is measured on how well you pass on to the next person, to the next generation, to the other person. Success is not measured through property. Success is measured on what you impact to the next generation. Thank you so much. See you next Sunday.